Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Privilege Stacking series. And I wanted to make a part two of the psychoanalysis of generational pretty privilege. So, being raised by pretty privileged mothers, aunties, grandmothers, basically everybody in your family is pretty in terms of women, where you literally cannot think of anybody who's ugly. And I feel like a lot of multi generationally mixed women in particular can relate to this because maybe you've got lots of women in your family for generation after generation where all of you guys have a similar phenotype. And for those who don't, maybe all of the pretty privileged women in your family were ostracized by the femcel women. And I'm not trying to like name call, but that's just the best word I can use to describe it. It's kind of like these femcel women, basically pick me's who never got picked. Sometimes those women in the family will ostracize the pretty privileged women in the family. So then the pretty privileged women end up hanging out together. So there's that dynamic as well. I might do an episode on that, but this one is about pretty privileged mothers and kind of the signs that you were raised in generations of pretty privilege. So sign number one that you come from generations of pretty privilege is you can't think of any ugly women in your family. Like I know for me personally, I cannot think of any ugly women when it comes to the family that I was raised with. My mom's side of the family, my grandma, grandpa's family. I can't think of not one woman in the family who was like ostracized or she felt ugly or like maybe she was super obese and looked really bad or something or like her hair was just broken off and she had super bad acne or something. I can't think of not one in my family, but I can't think of not one. So beauty and femininity was normalized, if not emphasized in your family. So this is something that will offend the femcel daughters. So maybe she had a pretty privileged mother who emphasized beauty, but the daughter, for whatever reason, maybe she felt like she didn't have that beauty, and so she got mad and she viewed it as like pressure. So that's another aspect where like the daughter is actually resentful of the mother's beauty. And I talked about that a little bit in the last video, but I want to talk about some of the common misunderstandings that happen when you come from generations of pretty privilege, because this has happened in my background too. So when you come from generations of pretty privileged women, oftentimes they emphasize beauty or maybe social climbing off of your beauty, maybe making a little bit of money off of your beauty. So for example, maybe you got put into modeling when you were a teenager and that was kind of your side income for a while. Maybe you got put into pageants or they put you into some sort of debutante thing or something where it's kind of showing off femininity, something where it like cheerleading. That's another thing that I'm thinking of. Something where you dress up in feminine clothing and you look cute. Something where beauty is kind of like a part of it. So cheerleading, maybe a dance team or like a drill team, something where you wear a sparkly outfit or something, or you wear like a very cute dress, something where you wear cute costumes. It could be cultural, like maybe you did a dance team, like some sort of Filipino dance team if you're Black and Filipino or something, or maybe you learned some sort of tribal dances, or you did some sort of traditions that embraced your femininity. That's another sign that you were raised by generations of pretty privileged women. It's because from the time you were a child, your family members were telling you that you were pretty. That's another thing, by the way. So for all the femcells who try to come into the exotical space and say that like we're not pretty, we're just average, we have bad bone structures, and like we're just ugly, regular Black women. First of all, being Black does not equate to being ugly. So that's the first ignorant comment. But number two, you cannot cancel out a woman's pretty privilege. You know why? Because if she was born with that pretty privilege, she has had pretty privilege since she was a child. So these are the girls who grow up being told by the other women in their family, oh, you're so cute. Oh, look at you. Like, you're so pretty. So pretty privileged girls have been told that they were beautiful from the time that they were children, especially if they come from a family of other pretty privileged women who look like them. They will definitely tell you, oh, you're so pretty. You look like your Auntie Sarah. Oh, you're so pretty. You look like Grandma Ruby. Oh, you're so pretty. You look like Grandma Gertrude, or like whoever the family members are. I'm just making up names. But that's another sign that you were raised amongst generational pretty privilege. Another sign is that there are generation after generation of women who look like you. There's a certain reason why people choose to have babies that look a certain way. Let's be honest. So if you come from some sort of multi-generational mixed family, if you come from some sort of family where They keep on reproducing the same exact phenotype over and over and over again. All of your cousins look like you. All of your sisters obviously look like you. Your mom has the same phenotype as you. Grandma has a similar phenotype. Your great aunts have a similar phenotype. Okay, there's a reason why people keep on recreating that phenotype and then celebrating the beauty of that phenotype. That's a sign that you come from generation after generation of pretty privileged women and that you were raised in a pretty privileged culture. So, one of my theories is that a lot of Creole women are like this. I'm thinking of Afro Latinas being very similar to this. Anything where there's like kind of almost like this triracial background where you come from like generation after generation of like triracials or biracials or mixed people or people where like somehow they keep reproducing the exact same phenotype. Everybody in your family, they all have the same type of hair or similar skin tones or whatever it may be. This doesn't even have to apply to people of black descent. This could apply to anybody, Filipino, Asian, white, whoever's watching this. Just look at your family history. Did the women praise the phenotypes of the family, or did they try to breed out the phenotypes of the family? Because if they're trying to breed out that phenotype, then that's a sign that, maybe they find a different phenotype beautiful. And again, there's actually nothing wrong with finding another phenotype beautiful as long as you don't disparage the other phenotype that you don't find beautiful. So that's a whole other subject. But another sign that you come from generation after generation of pretty privileged women, it is because you are seen as a representation of the Johnson family beauty, or whatever your family name is, the Johnson family beauty, the Rodriguez girls, the Santos girls, whatever your family name is, your mother or your aunties and stuff, they're all known for their beauty. And so there's almost like this expectation for you to meet that type of beauty as well. So sometimes what happens is there can be a misunderstanding if your mom is not a good communicator. Let's say your mom is not that great at communicating your beauty. Sometimes daughters may get offended and be like, wait, does my mom think I'm ugly, or like she thinks I look messed up? So I've noticed that this tends to happen with younger people, like teenagers and children and stuff, because they don't really understand that their parents are proud of their beauty, or maybe they've been taught that like being proud of your beauty is bad, that that's being arrogant or conceited or something. So if you are a mother watching this and your daughters are also pretty privileged like you may want to explain to them like, hey, being pretty is a good thing, and I'm very proud of how you look. I'm proud of your beauty. I think you're very beautiful. You want to encourage the child, because otherwise they may be confused, like, wait a minute, why is everybody caring so much about their appearance? Like, I thought that was bad. So you kind of want to teach them about the psychology of beauty if you are carrying on this tradition in your family. So for example, I'll tell you one of my stories, one of my misunderstandings that I had. So I did like modeling and stuff when I was a teenager, and my mom, she had these professional photos of me. She would always keep them like in her office or something, like at work. She would talk about me and all that. And oh, by the way, sometimes other people's parents, they will pit their daughters against you, because like looking back, a lot of people were jealous of my mom. I think a lot of people are still jealous of my mom. So sometimes other women, like femcel mothers and stuff, they might be jealous of your mother. That's another thing that you may notice. If you come from generation after generation, you're gonna, like, for me personally, I notice that people are jealous of my mother, that they get jealous of my auntie, that they were jealous of my cousin, or jealous of my sister, or whoever. So that's another sign that you come from a pretty privileged family. Okay, that's why they're jealous. It's not because like, oh, it's just you guys personally. No, it's because you guys all have this certain look where it's like a very pretty look or whatever. Or people know you by your features. They know you by your beauty. They say like, oh, she's the tall one who looks like a model, or she's the tall dark-skinned girl who has a nice body and the pretty white teeth, or whatever it is. They're describing you based on your beauty, or they're describing your family based on their beauty. That's another sign that you come from generation after generation of pretty privilege. But I remember in my case, there was one time that I got upset because, so my mom, she was taking me to her job. My mom, she had a very good job or whatever. She was very close with her coworkers. So she was like, oh, I'm going to take you to my office. Do you want to like get dressed and everything? Because I had just woken up. So I had on my pajamas. My hair was just in a basic bun or whatever. And my mom was like, oh, are you going to get dressed so we can like go to my job? And I didn't understand why my mom was asking me to get dressed. I was like, why does she want me to dress up? Like, why does she want me to put on makeup or wash my face and all that? Because I was pretty young, so I didn't understand it back then. And then later on, my dad told me, he was like, oh, yeah, it's because, she has all those pictures of you in her office. And basically, she's proud of you and like proud of the things that you've done. And so she was trying to like, not show you off, but kind of like, just show like, this is my daughter. Like, I love her. I'm proud of her. Like, this is the one that you guys have been asking about, basically. So sometimes mothers, they are proud of their daughter's beauty. But if the daughter doesn't understand that, then she might think, wait, you're trying to say that I'm ugly, or like you're trying to use me like I'm just a show pony or something. So I would just say that if you're a mother, just be careful with how you're describing it, or make sure that you explain that. Because, like in my case with my mom, like if my mom would have explained, like, oh, I thought your photos were really pretty. That's why I put them up in my office. So I like when you do your makeup like that because it looks really cute. And so basically, I just wanted us to go around and basically stunt and flex. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if she would have said it kind of more like that and just been more forthcoming, I guess, then I would have understood, like, oh, okay, so beauty is a flex. Basically, sometimes children, they don't understand that beauty is a form of social power. So that's what happened to me when I was younger. I didn't understand that beauty is a form of social power, or that beauty can be used as a flex, or that beauty gives you a sense of status. And I think that, like, in my case, my parents, they didn't emphasize that, for obvious reasons, because when you're a child, maybe they don't want the child to become shallow or whatever. By the way, side note, my family members, I've never heard any of the female family members call anyone ugly. That's a side note. Like, I've never heard my mom, my aunties, my cousins, I've never heard any woman in my family call themselves, or any woman in the family, or any woman outside of the family ugly. That word was not used in my family. I'm just saying, just in general. I remember one time actually, me and my sister were watching TV, and I was like, oh, that guy's ugly. And my sister was like, hey, that's not nice. Like, don't call anyone ugly. That's mean. Like, we don't use that word. So in my family, the word ugly, that wasn't even something that people said. So that's another side note. Something else that I want to talk about too is that my family, like when they talked about beauty and stuff like that, they were very encouraging to the other women in the family. And I think part of this is because they all looked alike, So, like, if you were to look at photos of me and my cousins and stuff, all of us, we do look like we are related. We may not look like brother and sister, but we definitely look like relatives. So, the women in the family, they would compliment each other's hair. They would kind of like compliment each other's facial features and stuff. So there was not like this comparison. You know how some people are like, oh, there's the pretty sister and the ugly sister? In my family, even in my extended family, nobody called other family members ugly. At least not that I remember. Not that I can think of. Nobody. Not my distant cousins, second cousins, third cousins. No. I can't think of anybody in my family that called any other women in the family ugly. So I think maybe that's another advantage of being raised in generations of pretty privilege. Maybe it's the fact that they understand the power of words, or they understand the power of validating their children's beauty. Another thing I want to mention too is that on my mom's side of the family, well, actually on both sides of the family, they emphasized natural beauty. So, like, for example, I didn't even wear my first wig until I was like almost 28 years old. So I didn't grow up where, my mom's in the bathroom putting on a weave or burning off her hair, or like she's trying to hide her hair or something like that, or my mom's telling me like, hey, everybody hates me because of this complexion, or because of the, like, I wasn't raised where women had a fear of society, or like social anxiety, basically, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of women who feel unattractive have social anxiety. I mean, let's be honest. Well, and that's pretty normal. Like, our society does not treat quote unquote ugly people the same way that they would treat quote unquote pretty people. So I understand the social anxiety that can come with feeling unattractive. But I did not grow up seeing women in my family being anxious about their appearance. And so I think that's a part of why I didn't grow up anxious about my appearance, because I never saw my mom or sister or cousins being stressed out about their hair, for example. No matter what hair texture they have. I have some cousins that have like 4B, 4C, like these type 4 hair textures. So I never saw them being stressed out about that. I never saw my cousins or aunties being like, oh, I need to glue a wig on my head because, like, if I don't, I won't get this job. I've never seen that. So that's another sign that you were raised by generations of pretty privileged women, because there is a baseline of confidence and self esteem that these women have in their appearance. So nobody grew up telling you, oh, you're going to have to get a perm. Oh, you're going to have to get a tan. Oh, you're going to have to get a bleaching thing. Or, oh, you're going to have to do this to change yourself. Oh, you need to take off those glasses. Oh, your bone structure is messed up. No, that wasn't a part of the culture in my family. Another sign that you were probably raised by healthy, pretty privileged women is that there was no sense of competition. Like, oh, let me compare this sister to that sister. Or, because I noticed, like, for example, if anybody did try to compete with my mom, because I did notice that. I definitely noticed when I was a kid that some people seemed jealous of my mom. Like, I'm just being honest. But like, anytime somebody tried to compete, I noticed that sometimes they would try to use their kid, or they would try to like compare their kids to myself or to other people. I don't know. So that's a sign though that you have pretty privilege in your family. It's because other women outside of the family, maybe they want their kids to be like you, or maybe they're trying to train their children to look more like you. Basically, you are the benchmark or the standard of beauty for other women's kids. And I know it's messed up. I wish that mothers weren't like that. But I have been around people where they will compare their daughters to me, like negatively. They're comparing their daughters negatively to me. So I understand why some women may feel resentment towards like light skinned women, or mixed women, or whatever race they were compared to. But another sign of growing up in a pretty privileged family is that you come from generations of models, or like in your family, there are other women who are models. Like I have family members who have done modeling, or, maybe your mom was a pageant queen. Maybe your grandma was a pageant queen. Maybe they did some sort of debutante thing, or like the cheerleading thing, just anything that is emphasizing femininity, like acting. She was an actress or something, and they may not have pressured you into doing that, but that's the norm in your family. That's an option, is what I'm trying to say. Like you were raised around an environment to where using your beauty was an option, as opposed to some of the femcel families where it's like that is demonized to feel like you even have the option, because the mother, she didn't have that option. So how dare you as the daughter have that option? But anyway, were you raised by generations of pretty privileged women? Your aunties, your sisters, your cousins, grandma, your mom? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.